Thanks, Nathalie, once again for this very informative presentation with figures who give us a very concrete image of what's going on around us. Now we're going to follow up with a panel discussion that we wanted to make as a kind of provocation. A lot of us here work with the traditional AV, and we wanted to raise the issue of everybody must do video. So in order to discuss this matter, this question, answer this question, and we've seen the extent to which media and advertising can use video. We're going to have a look in this in more depth. And in order to debate this question, we have Bertrand, Director New Media for the Figaro Group. We have Julien Lebigot, Director of Marketing for the Parc Astérix. Emmanuel, who is Managing Director of DBee. And Alexis Wautot, who is New Media Director for the I.P.M group. So we're very pleased to have this prestigious set of panelists. And we have Julien Lebigot, Jérémie Burgard, Director of Agency 79. So this is a very broad issue and a very, I think, interesting debate. And we have 4 panelists here who are going to help us delve into the issue of doing video in today's world. So I'm going to start off by giving you a couple of figures which will set the scene. We're talking about 39 million people viewing videos and 5.3 billion videos viewed every month over internet. And so we are going to talk about this topic. Today we're fortunate because we have both publishing, advertising and technical points of view who are going to give us several perspectives on this question. I'm going to launch the debate with a question given to all the panelists, and I'll start with answers from our advertiser and why everybody must go for video today. Well, perhaps I should talk about our own experience. At the Parc Astérix and other parks that I'm responsible for, we're trying to give people a new feeling, a new experience, which is difficult to convey over traditional media like posters, radio, and the printed media. So if you like internet and video, internet is one way of overcoming that barrier, and videos, of course, is an even better means to put people into a contextual sort of situation and show them the kind of experience that they can live. And they also can add content, make their own video, and build on what we already publish in terms of advertising campaign. So does everybody want to answer this question? Okay, so why everybody must go for video, that's the question. Well, I don't know even if it's need to question this anymore, because it's such an obvious thing. As part of the Figaro group, we work on the internet, we work in terms of information, data, and technical matters. So on this topic, for us, it's an obvious path to take towards video. Now, as Jérémie said, talking about 5 billion videos viewed. I've heard even higher figures with 11 hours spent watching videos. And so we need to add to that content. Now, from our point of view at Figaro.fr, our website, we give news. It's all about images and video. So it's difficult for us to be the leading site for news if we don't have all of these various media to convey information. This also helps us develop engagement of the internet user to our website. This obviously is helped by video. The other topic, obviously, is that videos generate revenue for us. Not yet very much, but it is something on which we are working. We have advertising revenue for this, which isn't the case every time. It's also a means to increase our product offering for mobile phones. over internet, it's an important factor, but over the past 2-3 years, we've realized that there is a high level of consumer activity. Up to 15 to 20% of consumers use their tablet PC or mobile phone to consume news and data. And video is very much compatible and can work with mobile phones just as much as internet. But I'm sure we'll come back to this later. Thank you. Would you like to add anything to that, which is quite a broad question, before we go into more detailed matters, technical matters? In Belgium, the situation that we are going through is pretty much the same as what's been described so far. Now, video, first and foremost, is because people like it. We've noticed that our product offering, including video, has helped us to triple the number of videos watched over a 2-month period. So we're hoping to continue along this curve to the end of the year. One of the fundamental reasons why video is important for the press is that it's close to TV, whereas TV and TV, as classic media, is the medium that has resisted the best in the faced with the onslaught of onslaught. Now, according to media stats, it doesn't matter what the screen is. Today, we can broadcast on internet, on mobile screens. In the future, we'll be broadcasting on connected TV screens. The point is that you have to be able to produce the content for this, and through that experience, it will open up new industries. And given the trend, the pressures that we feel from trends, it will obviously help evolve the paper media. Okay, my point of view is more technical because DBee is specialized in production and directing of live events over internet. We've got 10-year experience in this field, and one of the reasons that video has seen an explosion in terms of use in production is that we have the tools to produce videos much more easily, and all content producers and editors can produce their own programs much more easily, and it's much more accessible than it was previously, whether it be in terms of shooting itself to broadcasting, final broadcasting to the end user. There's been a huge democratization of the field in know-how, in technical aspects, in the costs and the management of animated image. I'll come back to this a bit later on in terms of technical matters. As executive producer for a number of programs, so whether it be for branded content or for events-based content, we have noticed that there is greater accessibility, it's easier to produce image, and as well we have hybrid content which is compatible with multiple screen supports, and there's also an ability to produce content which can then be channeled before an event or before the launch of a campaign as a teaser. It can also be used for branding, branded content, for product placement in a live program. And today, these images can be reused via catch-up and VOD. So from a technical point of view and production point of view, today I would say that we have several paths towards producing videos, and so it's made life a lot easier. Okay, so this brings me back. This brings me on to one of the next questions that I had for all of our panelists here. In relation to video, what are the most suitable formats for internet or mobile phones in order to broadcast content and advertising? Are there any rules of thumb to increase the number of videos watched, the time spent in front of the video, and for ad campaign effectiveness? Because obviously the traditional methods are perhaps less effective today, and there's been a gradual erosion of the performance. And so we want to re-inject new life into the effectiveness. So what is your point of view in terms of the formats that are employed and how content is used in order to make sure that videos are watched as much as possible by internet users and others? Okay, as an advertiser, perhaps I should speak first. For us over Internet, we have multiple goals, one of which, or the primary objective, is a marketing objective. Internet is a way to sell tickets and other products, and it's not necessarily using video that we achieve those goals. We use traditional advertising with good results. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, video is a means for us to convey other messages, and this is more about branding and a demonstration of the product that we're trying to sell. And this is why the various programs that we produced this year and last year go in that direction and show the consumer what our park is, what the Mer de Sable park is about, in order to attract consumers to come and live for themselves the experience that they can have at our park. Now, in terms of rules of thumb, Internet makes it possible to go a bit further beyond the boundaries of traditional advertising and be more provocative, use more humor. And we have broader formats that are compatible above and beyond what is compatible for TV. You have a one-click purchasing and this kind of thing. So even with short formats, above 2 minutes, we lose the attention of the viewer. So I would say that it's short format that takes precedence, and after that, it's just a question of targeting your campaign properly towards the young adult, adolescent, 15 to 24 age group, which for us are our main target audience, and therefore video and internet is a way of getting straight to them. So for Bertrand and Alexis, I wanted to turn the question more towards the advertising market and in-stream format. For example, Bertrand, perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about what it's like for you at the Figaro group. I think what we need to remember is that we are very heavily implied in video and internet communication. Now, we're not talking about massive investment in a wave of videos that we launch onto the site, but it is important because, as I already pointed out, the means that we have for internet are not that huge. So we don't have 200 people in our editing room, so it's a still small team. And for us, video is an accessory, if you like, to the other main content that we have. Being on internet for us is obviously a help, but our main content is written. The editorial side of the content that we have is important because the reader can control the time that they spend reading, which is more difficult with video. So written medium also means that it's easier to get the information through search engines. And I can come back to this later, but basically video for us is an accessory activity or a sideline activity. First of all, because we're a small production team, and secondly, because we think that it's simply an additional value that we can add to the written content that we have. So if you like, we don't have huge volumes. We're not talking about huge volumes. We talked about 5 billion videos being viewed in France. In our case, we're only on about several million videos being watched on internet per month on Figaro.fr, which is relatively small by comparison. So in terms of revenue, obviously, we're talking about small cash flows here, and so it's more of extra revenue. But for the overall site, we're talking about 15 million turnover every year for the Figaro.fr website. And the video as a part of that TO will be not even 5%. So as you can see, it really is a minor share in terms of both information and revenue. Now, what you said, Jérémie, earlier on about video, it's true that on internet we have the feeling that there's an over-demand for a supply of a video. You can see that there are billions of pages viewed. There's only a small amount of purchasing, and this, of course, drags the prices down. And in terms of conversion rates, we're relatively low. Now, we try and avoid simply having huge turnover because we have branded content. Now, for video, and in particular video that is news oriented, which I think is higher quality, because the problem with videos is that you have everything from one extreme to the other, and user content as well. So advertisers don't necessarily have well-targeted campaigns. So sometimes they're going to invest in content, but they're not well-targeted. Whereas on a news website, we know pretty much what kind of brand we're trying to push and what kind of image we're trying to convey. So in terms of the news world, we have a demand that exceeds supply, and we have about, for 1,000 ads, we have only about 15, 20 euros revenue, which obviously doesn't compare with, well, we're even above the UK. In the US, for example, I was there not long ago with some journalist colleagues, and they were talking about thematic video. And when you go into topical video tabs, they're reaching $40 to $50 for 1,000 videos broadcasted, which obviously, in comparison to our experience and the 10 years we've been up online, which is a kind of El Dorado, because for the moment the volumes that we're turning over in terms of revenue per 1,000 videos aired is still very low. And it's obviously a niche that we want to develop. Now, in terms of format, obviously, we're always trying to be longer, heavier, and more. Everything bigger is better. But now we try to protect the kind of video format that we have. In terms of time available, you have to realize that on internet, people are zapping, coasting through, browsing different content. We're on a timescale of about 50, 20 seconds each time. US studies have shown that the average time spent watching a video by a web user, depending on the content, I should have learnt the figures off by heart, but whether it be music, video clips, etc., it varies between 45 seconds and 120 seconds, or 2 minutes max. And for news, in terms of news content, we're about 15, 20 seconds. The advantage of the players that we have, we know exactly at what stage the internet user, the web user, leaves or stops watching the video, which is obviously quite interesting in terms of that. Now, if we've got 30 seconds advertising at the beginning of a 20-second slot, well, we'll be able to broadcast 1 or 2 videos, but the web user is going to get fed up with watching so much advertising. So what we're trying to do is put ads on every 3 or 4 videos that are aired on internet to avoid boring the web user. Now, with the video advertising that we have single advertising, so it can be quite useful. But the format, therefore, I think is going to be the short shot, so long as the technology adapts to changes in use. Okay, we're talking about a viewing rate of about 90%, and video perception, or the perception of video by web users, is fairly high. Various studies have approximated the satisfaction rate to TV. So, as you say, there is an El Dorado out there. So there is a fall in cost for production of which may be good news for some producers, but given the performance and the impact of the video format, we can, as you say, produce things for budgets where you're talking about revenue of 15 to 20 euros for every 1,000 videos ad. Okay, now given the fact that we're only dealing with small volumes, what we do is join efforts, and there is therefore concentration of the market. So the volumes that we're talking about for Figaro.fr is nothing at all, and so it's not what an advertiser is looking for. So what we do is we merge the business offers between publishers. Sometimes we share editorial teams in order to be able to offer the advertiser airing packages or viewing packages, which is more effective overall. Now, perhaps a small scoop for you. This kind of concentration of publishers in terms of electronic services, so to speak. We've launched a new advertising video format, which will be launched on about 70 websites. So this is publishing websites, so kind of high quality, which aims to we're talking about high definition, full screen TV shot on websites, on internet sites. So the video, which will be quite heavy, will download transparently in terms of the web user, and so the quality will be full format and high definition and show for 20 seconds on the screen. This is therefore going to be launched. We're going to have higher coverage rates. Here we're talking about 70 websites. So that means we'll be talking or getting coverage of about 1/3 of the French in just a fortnight. But obviously, it's not TV, we are internet, so we have to remember that. But in terms of experience, there is a lot of interesting work. It can be quite effective to merge the formats in order of having the quality of image and broadcast and coverage. And of course, it's quite effective in terms of message because it's one shot. It's going to be launched on several sites, and so this is going to be a pilot or a trial that's going to be launched over the next few days. Would anybody else like to say anything in terms of that? I think one thing we have that capping is important, yes, and then there's also the production time for video, because some publishers are known for the quality of their written media. And using videos usefully in the midst of this written content, you have to sort of balance between what is more unusual and serious, between entertainment and sport, between political and economic news. And so there's a little bit of research that has to be done in order to find out what's going to please the target audience in question. And it's kind of boring to always find the same images, so you have to have sufficient very different kinds of advertising over a few days to keep it attractive. And we started off with the idea of a pre-roll, but the idea if a video has been successful, and we have other monitoring tools as well to detect or to research what pleases the web users, and also to detect at what time the web user stops watching a video, which obviously is very useful for the advertising market. I'd like to come back to the issue of formats. As a service provider in this field, we have noticed that publishers, broadcasters, advertisers come to us for post-production. We have experience that show that the majority of formats are short, i.e. branded content generally, which are produced with specific use and variable length. But we're talking about a derivative of ad campaigns, So we're talking about 45 seconds to 2 minutes. We also have the notion of a series where you can see that the campaign is drawn out like a soap opera. And here the approach is a multi-screen production with soap operas that are developed for the web or other screens. Now, in terms of events and live events, we talked about live streaming the other day with Media Metrics. Today, live content is a major media, both in terms of program production, but as well is important for advertisers in terms of sponsoring or patronage. And a number of advertisers want live coverage of an event. And there, it's very close to branded content. And for those who are scene producers or interactive scene producers and screenwriters in the room, we're seeing traditional web-oriented classical productions, i.e. programs which seek interaction with the audience and feedback via webcam or voting systems or social networks, with the added feature of being able to scene producing, scene writing, contribution to the program, and sometimes both tied in together. So the live event aspect of a video production is increasingly important. And that's something that we can see in terms of trend. Now, in terms of the production side, we talked about the problem of cost in video production. I think that we should be aware that there's been a change in the tools used for production. Today, the AV tools that we have make it possible, in terms of trend, to have lower production costs than in the past, because today the studios for shooting, the production studios, have high-end technology, but make it possible to have 3D virtual backdrops. And as part of a series production, you can set the theme, you can build a backdrop for my series, and you can use it again very quickly. So, for example, if there's a daily or weekly program or a monthly program, and here again, this is coming back to product launch programs or presentation or marketing campaign videos, it's possible today to reproduce much more easily certain content with very high quality for broadcast, because we have this pivotal content which is then interoperable with all kinds of media or screen. And this, therefore, is content that you can keep. It's a kind of asset, and you can use it again to produce a kind of a best-of series. And using same content or image, which, even though it remains the same, forms a base which can then be adapted to make a teaser, a campaign, or used in live streaming, or as a backdrop for something else, which can then be used for emailed videos. So basically, to say that a production means today exist and make it possible for producers and broadcasters to have effective, low-cost production, and also make it possible to have seamless content which can be used again and again. Okay, over the past 5 years, there's been a major fall in the cost of bandwidth for video. Today, there are more and more players on the market for that. So broadcasters usually have overarching agreements with large broadcasting video broadcasting networks. And there's also more interaction with the audience. We have user-generated content, which means that we're working on a screenwriting point of view, where contributors, the audience, sometimes host the videos in question, contribute to the video, And so the ability to broadcast and reach a broader audience make it possible to, or make this media more accessible too.
So regarding all the things we just said, I'm then asking you, Julien, about the development and revolution regarding formats on the internet. Has this led the advertisers to change their mixed media or to think differently about the relationship between the several medias and their presence on the internet today? Of course, thanks to internet, we can target the audience and we can start a specific content adapted to a particular part of the population. On the amusement park, Parc Astérix, we saw that we had these offerings of sensational games there in place, and this is not an argument that is interesting to everyone. Our main target remain the families. Yet we try to attract those young adults. We start interacting with them using video tools and also the invasive aspect of those videos and related interactions. As a result, we can act differently. We have a new product related to a Halloween topic. This product is much more emotional, is much more spectacular than the other ones we have, and is quite different to the initial spirit of our park. It is close to the American Halloween spirit. You are afraid and you use fear. We see that we have a target population that is eager to experiencing such emotions. We started this project over the internet. We've been working together with Allo Ciné and displayed another picture of the park that was first hidden and then unveiling gradually. This would never have been possible on TV due to the cost issue, and also due to our brand image, because it was reaching a very broad audience. Thanks to this particular tool, we had the opportunity to reach a specific segment of the audience. Bertrand, have you had the opportunity to see new advertisers playing on the web and using video? We are still at the very onset of this approach. Of course, we see that our various departments have answered in a positive way. We see that the advertising offering is attracting a different audience over the internet, and thanks to video. This is a different use. In Belgium, at least, we see that advertisers are interested in video format, but they have not found their way through this yet. So I cannot definitely say yes, answer yes to your question. I totally agree with you. It's too early to identify a trend. We see that several announcers use web every day. Of course, we also see that some of them have been using video, but why this? What were the motives for them to use video? We have lots of advertisings in the moment for specific companies that were not displayed in the latest month. Later on, we'll probably be in a position to answer this question. I earlier mentioned this collaboration will start with 70 website editors with the aim of working together with food advertisers that are not using internet very much at the moment. We want them to switch to the internet, remaining in the field of food, but also dedicating a broader part of their media mix to the internet. Maybe cast a positive light on this debate. We saw a development in the mix in favor of the internet media. This is a rather older trend. we saw that 15 to 20% of our investment were dedicated to the internet. We were very much working on performance. Used to, with video, you can afford higher budgets. And of course, you see that over the years, this makes up an increasing part of the overall investment. So we see that the format and this communication tool is expanding, and the technical tools have evolved so that costs have lowered, although costs remain quite high, which is a handicap to the media budget. The lower the costs are, the more optimal they will be, and therefore the pure media content will have a major role to play. We've been mentioning the media and advertising aspect, but of course the communication is important. We work a lot together with the main large companies and main institutions. We see that paid workers and employees are asking demanding from the companies marketing and communication and increasing use of video in order to share knowledge. This is something we can see on a daily basis thanks to the exchanges and debates we have with our customers. We see that the production and distribution aspect is vital on the media, on the video media, but also why are we using video today? Why should everyone go for video today? Because this is a demand from the company workers. For internal and external communication, you see large group with maybe up to 100,000 workers. They do not only use video for communication purposes, but they use it for the several trades, they use it for training purposes, they use it in order to foster e-learning, they use it for their marketing operations and in order to prepare their productions. They use it to collaborate, to share, to work together, because if you get 100 or 200 emails a day, you have no time to read all of them, but within a few pictures, you can then convey, using a few pictures, a strong message. Therefore, this is an opportunity to work on the brand's identity and on its image. You see that our fellow workers have learned a lot from TV and media spheres, and they are becoming their own media actors, so that they produce clips that are distributed over media, but they also increasingly create their own broadcasting channel, create their own programs with their specific writing that is specific to their identity, to their own culture, using similar formats, that is short movies, series, advertising, web TV, live broadcasting, events, and most of all events broadcasting. So we see that there's a very strong trend towards those views I just mentioned. Thank you very much. We'll now leave the advertising market and move on to the content and brand content aspect of our topic. This has been very much debated on the side of the advertisers. We see that video is the apparently best treated format to this kind of content. I now ask you, Julien, the following question. Are you using branded content nowadays in order to convey different messages than the one you could convey using a conventional TV spot, TV clip? Indeed, nowadays our amusement park is in need for showing its attractions and showing its the sensations and experiences it's offering to the visitors. We call it brand content. This is a marketing jargon, but the purpose is to show your pictures and to give a picture of a foretaste of what our amusement park is. Together with Agency 79 and with Daily Motion, we started a series at the beginning of the year that was entitled La Grosse Baffe, and we invited several very famous persons in order for them to promote the Parc via a talk show organized on the place, on the Parc. We had several interviews of a few minutes in which they would either mention their activities, their promotion, and had also a technical test in very dangerous conditions in order to have a humorous side, but also to promote our Parc. We created several episodes that are broadcasted over the internet, that are broadcast also on the Direct 8 channel in order to generate a buzz. We saw that the Parc itself was not communicating. We were only the set, we were only the framework, and we saw that those very important persons had to be the one who would carry out this program. What was the impact of this operation? Can you mention a few figures? It's hard to say how many tickets we've been selling thanks to this program. We saw that there was a highly positive impact, and it's thanks to the various comments and remarks we got from our fan community over the Facebook website. This was very much in line with our spirit and our expectations over Dailymotion. We have almost 400,000 video viewed, and we have a very positive feedback from all the viewers. So we can say that it was a positive action, but it's difficult to see a direct revenue related to this. We've been mentioning a lot those collaborative media, participatory media. Can you use the metadata, that is chat, questions, tweets, and the text messages sent by the audience? Nowadays, we're very much using those contents, those metadata. In the recent years, we've been using this so-called one-to-many mechanisms. That is, that you create a program and then you broadcast it on a VOD format with quite limited interaction with the audience. In the last 5 to 6 years, we have started developing enriched video using rich media technologies, broadcasting on web screen, and being viewed on the PC, so that platforms around video have started to become richer. We see that the program may be produced on demand or shooted in advance. We see that there are live options also, and that social media play a vital role in this field. The users are developing. The feedback side is increasingly important. Let's consider such a program as C'est dans l'air, working with text message questions. This was our starting point. First of all, we copied on the web that what was happening and that was being displayed on the broadcast, and then we used the specific options that is typical for this media, and used the for example, live scoring for a football game or for the Euro League. We had some information and collaboration with FTV, M6, and other sports events broadcasters. We broadcasted real-time sports event. We got some text message streaming. We used Twitter. All those contents are metadata. These are items of information that can be worked on later on or live in order to produce programs and series afterwards. We have more specialized in live programs and live data, use of metadata. We have, for example, a moderator who answers a question. So we work on this audience feedback and share and have an exchange with the target audiences that have been previously invited and incorporated into the program. We then track them in order to see when they stop viewing this program, what were the questions they've asked. This adds value, and this is a key added value to the existing program today that use video, but not only, and are made up of a whole range of medium. Adding to what you said, I'd like to underline the fact that it's difficult for us to start interacting with the audience. This might seem paradoxical, but on our website, Figaro.fr, we have over 600,000 members. We have 15,000 comments a day posted on our content, so we see that there is a very strong participation, there is very strong involvement, but it's difficult to get the audience involved around video contents. First of all, because interaction is related to the live broadcasting, and internet is not a live broadcast, it's a delayed broadcast, it's on-demand display. Every day at 6 o'clock we have a political program broadcasted live. We try to generate an event with that, but no one is watching this live. Most people are watching this via VOD. It's difficult for us to start an interaction with internet users because we have a reduced live content, because we have very short formats, and there's no time for questions, tweets, and so on if you've got only a 3 minutes long program. So this is a difficult aspect. So how can we engage the internet users? We have the user-generated content, videos sent by internet users, and we see that we all have cameras on our mobile phones. We have probably 50 movie makers in the room. In case there's any accident, any problem, any landing of a plane on our building, then we'll have many people already there before the press agencies have sent and detached their own workers. So we can then collect information from those sources. There are various problems related to that. How can you check the information? You cannot broadcast anything if you're not sure about that. We saw recently that there was a fake info about an ambassador from Syria. This news was broadcast on France 24, and we see that there is a very dangerous potential of this kind of content. Of course, as far as natural disasters are concerned, then you can have nice pictures. But this is rather difficult as regards sourcing, because you need to check the information, and there is also the issue of copyright. On the internet, it's difficult for us to start an interaction with internet users. So we ask a few questions. What do you want to us to talk about tonight? This is the main channel we're using to start this interaction. The score study for 2010 mentioned the fact that every third internet user is posting a comment on the video, and and 2 internet users on 5 are posting video comments on video also. So this is an interesting figure. Maybe the rates are not as high as those you can find on your website at Le Figaro. Maybe they rather correspond to websites such as Dailymotion and YouTube, where this commenting activity has much more developed. But you see very clearly the collaborative and participatory aspect with increasing participation figures. Yes, you need a longer format that is related to an event and to a specific length, so that you have enough time to manage the data, to work on it, because if you get thousands of questions over a few minutes, you need a whole organization, you need to moderate and to work on the info. A proper way to work this out is to create a rating system, voting system, live voting system, asking people about their views on this or that topic, and asking them to comment on this. This is a longer format that is closer to the TV program or talk show format. but it has to be suitable to this kind of interaction. I'm asking Alexis and Bertrand about their view on the place of daily press within the overall offering. Well, of course, it's interesting for a press website to go for video, but how do you keep in line with the internet ecosystem? How do you incorporate this video without breaking with your press line and without having a negative impact on the on your core activity? I don't think that we are having this negative impact. Using the websites of people who are not reading, using those websites, we're reaching people who do not read newspapers. Therefore, the newspaper's website is not only the continuation of the paper version of this newspaper, it's rather an opportunity for us to remain with a high-quality content and remain rigorous in order to target a broad audience. We also have the opportunity to then work on the television aspect. For us, the starting point was that we saw how public TV channels started editing content as we did. So they started working on our field, and so did we. Televisions are very much more focused on their news programs for lunch or evening time. And we have the opportunity over those websites to very quickly deal with topics because we are not related to a fixed time in the day, so that we can make a scenario out of our video and incorporate them into our internet news program, but also incorporate them to our instant information content. So which kind of information can last until the next morning when the newspaper is issued? These are exactly the contents that we want to broadcast on the internet and work on using video. We have lots of rich applications that can be used. In this view, we also see a radio program associated to our group. As we had this wedding, this royal wedding from Kate and William, we saw that there was a streaming from the BBC. We had a radio comment on this. We had pictures displayed on the website. And at the same time, in parallel to that, we had a live program for those people who could access to this. We had some viewers' reactions, people's reactions, so that in the end there was a mixed product that was quite original and very much more flexible than what we can achieve via written press, and very different to what conventional players can do. You were mentioning ecosystems. We're using very much video. We're trying to work more on this. We have, of course, boundaries as everywhere.
Means that we can't take the place of television. We have to do something that is consistent with the internet, and we try to focus on short things. It really has to be fast. And we're talking about mainly real-time stuff, live stuff as well, which you mentioned, and avoiding, for example, long talk shows, half an hour programs, people like us, for example, talking about the subject for an hour and a half. Of course, we can do it, but it's not going to do anything in terms of audience numbers. So that's the first thing as well, is to focus on internet suitable imaging, which is more shock hitting fast, and as well staying within a very limited budget, which is huge. Internet is still a very fragile universe, and it's barely standing up in terms of economic model. And we've been trying to make money or profits over the past 2 years, and I don't think that there are that many setups that are making money out of the business. And so we still have to organize ourselves well in order to produce good content. So what do we do and how do we do it? Well, we don't do a lot, but what we do is add to what we already do and never try and replace something else, because we're just not big enough and it's not our business. It's not our speciality. So we have a topic or a piece of news, and instead of putting just a still, we see if we can add a video, if we're actually adding value from the point of view of internet users. So aside from live events, which is different, and we have a lot of office consumption, putting live events aside, we have a lot of zapping stuff, which basically is very suited to internet. It's not expensive. We use existing content. It's short, it's fast, hits hard. And in terms of news on internet, you're looking at having a look at what's happened today. So you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to look at image and a piece of information that tells you what to be having. So we have a little platform, which means that we can record several TV channels, and then we can do our own cutting and editing, and we post those little bits. So for example, we have a thunderstorm, and we look at how the TV channels deal with this piece of news, and then we have about 30-40 seconds of a video which deals with that specific news event. And then we have a number of news videos. So, for example, the arrival of the solar plane that landed in Lebigot yesterday. It's good to flag that event because the dragonfly-style landing was interesting, but won't attract anybody's attention for more than 20 seconds. So we're not going to have 200 posts like a BFM or other channels. We're working with existing images from partners. Sometimes we have to buy that image from agencies. So we work a lot with partners such as ETV and France 24. And then with their agreement, we use video shots from their content, which we will then broadcast on our own site as an extra. So that's everything to do with the zapping, the coasting through images, which are an addition to existing news. The third aspect of our work to do with the Figaro publishing group. We have about 500 journalists working as part of the group, people specializing pretty much everything. And we have Jean-Marc Bonneau, for example, who is an absolute specialist in the Middle East. So when there is a topical issue like this morning, with the new head of Al-Qaeda, an Egyptian. What does that mean, for example, above and beyond the news story? So we try and take a little bit of a step back, have a different insight from a specialized, and in about 45 seconds, we call those hot news. We get this journalist, Bonneau, and we put him in front of a green or blue screen, whatever, with a camera, 30 seconds, his opinion on the news item, and he gives us a different insight. So it's fast, it's a production studio within the Figaro group, and we have a little team that deals with that. So that, if you like, is the third approach that we take. The fourth prong to our tactic is closer to production as experts understand the meaning. In the experts term, we have This was quite a new field for us, and we needed a little production team. So we set up our own little digital studio with live broadcasting, either on the internet or TV, such as ETV or BFM. Those are TV channels. And then we have a team of 3 people who work this production studio with automatic camcorders. So there was a certain amount of investment to make there, and it's often used for tiny or mini shows. So a political meeting, we have Buzz, we have The Live, which is a musical event every week with local music artists. So if you like, our production means are aimed more at this kind of mini event. And then the Figaro group, which is the oldest newspaper in France, over 180 years history. It's an old lady on the press scene, and we have about 450, 500 videos per day, as you can see, using the same number of people perhaps 2-3 journalists, extra journalists who are video specialists. But as we did with the digital jump, we tried to source our strengths within the group's existing skills, and everybody made an effort to work with the video. And as we've already done with the internet, and increasingly, I think people are getting used to working with this new medium. So was it quite difficult to change the course of this major steamship, if you like, this old group, historical group? No, obviously it wasn't that easy. Now, coming back to the Figaro again, I'm sorry, but it's the subject I speak most about. There are about 2,000 people, about 80 people working on internet, in particular for small ads. So kind of like a job posts, etc. And then we restructured all of that. There are still 2,000 people working in the group. That hasn't changed. But there are 600 people working with digital media, so 400 for small ads. This has grown a lot for real estate jobs, etc. About 200 people in the group that I look after, which is more to do with the website, editorial and services. So those figures, if you like, just show you the extent to which over the past 4 or 5 years, the Figaro group that has such a long history has adapted to the new situation. And it's an ongoing process. Today, 20% of our group's video comes from digital sources, and video, if you like, is going to be another step in that direction, and it's going to, again, make journalists' job change. Basically, you have to understand that in the world of journalism, there is no choice. You have to change with the times. So you just have to, take the bull by the horns, and you just have no choice about it. You have to go with the flow. Fine. We haven't talked that much about cost. Emmanuel, in your view, or what are your recommendations for producing a series of programs that are going to be either aired live or with time shift within a limited budget? Okay, that's a very difficult question to answer. There is a process, a method in order to which is used to define the kind of cost parameters that you're working within. First of all, I think that you have to, first of all, have a good evaluation, have a good idea of what content you're going to be working on. Sometimes we have customers, advertisers have seen video technology, they've seen a nice new format or system from a technological point of view, they want to use it. So with this kind of request, we try and help them understand, or we try to understand what they want to use it for, what is the message they want to convey, what is the content they want to work with, and then we have to decide on the format, because very often when you're working in a media world which has gone from writing to image, it's a cultural shift, and in terms of staff and skill sets, you've got people more used to stills and different kind of camera work. So when there is a bit of a skill set, then that's fine. But if we're working with a company that is not used to this so well, before going into the issue of cost, we try to define, first of all, help them in identifying exactly what format would be best to suit their content, and see to what extent they're working on an event-based program, a series of episodes that are going to be broadcast, and then help them identify as well the technological system that would be best suited to the target audience that they're trying to reach. Is it going to be a small target audience? Is it the general public? So before technology, I think that you have to plan things out well, and also try and have an estimate of the impact of the project in terms of cost. And for live programs, simple live programs without talking about production and shooting, so just simply broadcasting, you're talking about budgets that can vary between 3,000 to 20,000 euros. So it really depends on the complexity, the notion of multilingual events or not. So, for example, we've got streaming in 2 languages, and so you have to add a player, you have associated data to this kind of programming and scenario. So it's not just about shooting and production, it's also the scenario preparation, anticipating the level of interaction that you want and how the data is going to be processed. I think that what you have to bear in mind is that this idea of a scenario screen set. It can be a video, simple video, but you can be also using a lot of metadata with feedback, a team that will be moderating all of this real-time editing and cutting, for example. So you need, for example, to make sure that it's all harmonious on the website, to make sure that it comes across well, and both in terms of the overall impression and the program, and as well what the digital experience is going to be. And then, of course, there's the actual broadcasting element, and the higher the audience will be with streaming, the higher the bandwidth you're going to need, and so there is a change in format there. And therefore, estimating the target audience and the level of audiences will have an impact on costs. So with one-shot events, you have to think about that. And then the assessment will also have an impact of cost. So, for example, if you've just got simple statistics like how many hits on the video, then the statistical cost is going to be fairly low. But if you want something more sophisticated with fine-tuned marketing, with information or stats per view, then obviously you're looking at a totally different set of statistics, and this obviously will have an attached price tag. So it depends on the audience, the geographical spread, the broadcasting format, the quality level of production that you want to begin with, the means that you're going to be using for airing, whether you're going to be using a webcam, whether you're going to be doing IP with telco, with another studio. So, for example, all of that is going to have an impact on the final production cost. Well, those who are interested in knowing more detail about that can come and meet with you. It's really on a case-by-case basis. I can tell you how much it costs us. It's fairly simple because we don't have any choice. We have a very limited budget. There are four costs, if you like, involved. First of all, there's the initial investment, which we had to put in for the video studio. So that's about 300,000 euros, for example. And then the staff cost. But at the same time, we rent the studio out. And in fact, I'm going to use this as a quick pitch, because if you want a digital studio based in the center of Paris, then we rent out our studio. Well, it's that's the first cost, is the studio. Then everything to do with equipment. So 15 mics, final cutting, production lab, etc. So this is the second cost. The third cost, as I said, staff with journalists with the video skill set in order to bring a little bit of know-how, and obviously that has cost attached. And then the last cost, as you mentioned, is everything to do with the broadcasting side of things. So we have a player which is called Bright Cove, and then we have the variable cost element, so the per 1,000 videos or what, so it goes between 150 to 3 euros per 1,000 videos viewed. The last cost that we have is the graphics and the charter that we stick to ensure that the stuff that is aired is consistent with the overall image. So we have post-prod cutbacks in order to redo the visual setup. And the rest of the work is done with people in-house. So that pretty much says it all for our cost. Thank you very much to all of you. I think we've answered quite a lot of questions. If there are any remarks or questions from the floor about video use or any other question they have for our panelists, then please do take the floor. Well, I'm going to start the ball rolling. Thank you very much, first and foremost, for having come today. The first question I have is about the press media. There are a lot of creators, producers, and web documentary producers. Web documentaries, I think, are the extension to a news article, which is more interactive, multi-format, cross-media, and a lot of your competitors, it's not just true for France, but for elsewhere, also broadcast web documentaries, either free or in catch-up mode. I.P.M in Belgium and Figaro in France. What is your view on that? Well, web documentaries are brilliant. Oh, well, that's a bad start. But that's the English way of answering things. You start with the positive things and then end it with a but. But basically, web documentaries, in my view, are brilliant, brilliant formats. Even the web documentaries without video, with just sound and stills, are brilliant projects which really do harness all the potential of the web with the interactivity and all the rest of it. So we do indeed have some of our own web documentaries that are produced in-house, that are also produced externally, and not enough, in my view, because they are really an interesting channel. But in terms of cost efficiency and meeting needs, that's where the idea bites the dust, because web documentaries represent quite a significant cost, and basically we just often lack the means to acquire web documentaries. So do you have a strategy which would allow co-production, for example, if you don't have the means to invest in it? That would be of interest, I think, to a number of players here. And this is a question to you and to Alexis. Do you use micropayment, for example, which makes it possible for people to generate revenue and market their product? Or, well, what is your business approach? And have you worked with producers on these three media? Well, within Figaro, we have Video, which is one of the leading broadcasting platforms. We have a share in that. We're a stakeholder. So it's a subject that we're quite familiar with. And we are trying, in terms of documentaries, we're the leading distributor of documentary content. And we try and sell some of that, either pay-per-view or by subscription. And we sell it for the most topics possible. We have a lot of contextual content. So, for example, what works best is context. So you draw the web user in because of the scenario that's offered. And in a lot of articles, for example, talking about maritime problems in the China Sea, and then you can offer a documentary on naval construction, for example. Now, unfortunately, and I know from experience that in terms of conversion rate, the actual number of products sold, we're still looking at minute volumes, which means that once you've spread these small amounts and small volumes between Video, the producers, the publishers, etc., you know all of the detail more than I do. At the end of the equation, there isn't anything to show that this model is strong enough to drive production. I'd like to be in a situation where we can broadcast and monetize content which generate large enough volume to generate turnover and make it viable in order to drive forward production. But unfortunately, as things stand today, and we have tried a number of different approaches, we haven't yet identified the business model which makes it sufficiently viable in terms of turnover to vouch having a genuine production studio. Well, do you have little budgets for 5,000, 10,000 budgets for production? Not within the Figaro. It's really quite rare because I said again, Internet for us is a low-cost activity. Well, it's low cost for production, but it's a cost in terms of Internet. And basically the conditions that we're working with are working with journalists with heavy work contracts, or they're basically onerous, but I mean that's good, but it's a reality. And so we basically do the minimum necessary, but then unfortunately it doesn't leave much margin for maneuver afterwards. So for example, like Arte, which has a different setup, and France TV, and of course I'm quite envious of all of those other channels or broadcasters that have more leeway, but it's not the case yet. Well, obviously the cost pressure is high, and as Bertrand said, we're working on a shoestring budget. And it's true that web documentaries, as you say, have huge potential. Nonetheless, in terms of product offering, I think there's still a lot of work to be done. So it's difficult sometimes to monetize the work. And either you have long feature documentaries which are serious and don't generate much volume, and then of course the skill sets required and the expectations that web users will have of the content. So yes, we're interested in this field. We have a number of ongoing concerns in that, but at some stage we've usually had to put an end to this work because it was too expensive for what it was going to generate, given that even though web demand is high. Well, we have a number of excellent web documentaries that are going to be pitched in about half an hour, and we're very proud of the content that's going to be shown later on. You can see it on the website. I don't know if there are any other questions in the room. I have another one, which is for Julien and to you. When you launch a project, La Grosse Baffe, the big slap in the face, I saw that campaign on Internet. What is your strategy in terms of production? Do you work with an agency such as Agency 79? Do you work with authors? Do you work with production studios? How do you do this? Because there are a lot of players in the room here who want to build web content. How can they build a partnership with players like you who are potential customers at the end of the day? Okay, from a technical point of view, the concept was based on WAN cameras or onboard cameras on the rides in our park. So technical progress made it possible to shoot images that weren't possible 3 years ago, for example. So it's quite clear that the big slap in the face, like Grande Baffe, that was done this year, 2 years ago, the same project would have been possible. Now, in terms of what went on behind the scenes, I think I'll leave the floor to Jérémie because they came up with the idea. Yes, so we know each other. We worked together on this campaign, La Grosse Baffe. We had a very clear brief to begin with that was set by Julien, which was to highlight the park's attractiveness and special features. We did talk a lot about cost. We had a very limited, well, not a very controlled budget, and we managed to produce a hard-hitting content and the first talk show, Head Upside Down. And we produced an image for all the rides in the park. We called on the services of a production studio. We worked with Dailymotion on the project, and it is a lot of work for the production team as well as for the technical teams inside the park. In terms of outcome, we produced 12 programs that are aired on Daily Motion on a dedicated part of the site, and you're encouraged to go and see because they're quite fun. And then on Direct 8 up until mid-July, there are 6 programs that have been aired with 6 personalities, San Magdon, Candeloro, Miss France, and basically special personalities that were invited to come and talk about the Astérix Park. And in terms of results achieved, I would say that we had a huge amount of positive comments about the park. Now, the brand isn't necessarily quoted from the outset, but it's under the surface there, and the content is definitely linked to the brand. And over 400,000 videos viewed on Dailymotion, which obviously is a big volume, without mentioning the comments and remarks posted on social networks. So I think that this is a concept that we'll be able to transpose and apply to other campaigns because it does work. As you've got a lot of customers and you're a very successful agency at the moment. Okay, so this is the ad spot for me, is it? Well, no, you've got authors in the room here, and they have a lot of projects to suggest. Can they come and can they get in touch with you? Very often their problem is to find customers to sell their ideas. So if you are as an intermediary, then obviously that can catalyze their work and catapult their ideas into a business. Now, once again, I'm talking about my own interest, which is Parc Astérix. Our market is entertainment, which is high demand at the moment. We have a major competitor which has 5-10 times the means that we have. What we need to do to survive is to come up with something that's different, to send messages using perhaps a more innovative media, and if you like, use the feature of Parc Astérix. Astérix is small, but he's capable of doing things that are superhuman. And the means that we have are limited, but we're prepared to be adventurous and try these new media. We launched videos before. We had La Grande Baffe this year, and we're open to new ideas. Obviously, we have to examine all of these suggestions on a case-by-case basis, but everything that can shed new light, obviously highlight the features of our park, then we're open to that. Okay, so get in touch with Julien and Jérémie Burgard himself directly, because as he just mentioned, we are the advertising agency for the Parc Astérix. We'd be happy to talk with you. We are a media agency. The core business that we have is buying ad space on internet, mainly. Now, we are also creative and we offer content, but it's not our core business. So if I have a list of customers, if that generates ideas and makes sense, as it has done for the Parc Astérix, I'll be quite happy to discuss this with you. And I think that our contact details are available. I'm quite ready to share my contact details. And please do get in touch with me to talk about Parc Astérix or other customers on our portfolio and maybe we can work together on. Are there any other questions in the room? Before we close the session, thank you very much to DBee, and it's thanks to them that we are currently being streamed around the world. They are in charge of the streaming. Thank you very much to our panelists for this discussion. Quick break, and we'll come back to hear these rave pitches after the break. Thanks.